Today we'll talk about Behat and behavioral testing. Okay, so before starting with the session, I'll give a brief overview like what all will be covered here. Okay, so we'll be covering about certain terms like what is Behat, what do you mean by BDD framework. Third thing is what is the meaning of Gherkin language. Fourth, I'll show a quick demo like how it is done on automation point of view, like the automation QA, and then we'll discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of using BAT. Okay, so let's start. So what is BHAT? BHAT is an open source BDD framework. So BDD's full form means behavior driven development. It's basically a agile process or software development process where we follow real-time scenarios or build software as per real-time scenarios. Suppose we want to build a software website or a website like we want to order some food, a food ordering website. So it follows a agile process like there will be three stages. First stage will be a login page. Second stage will be we are adding any food item to the cart, and third stage will be the checkout stage. So these each stages are built iteratively. Okay, so this is a BDD framework. Like first stage, we have to build a login page where it will display like the restaurants and all. Then once we click on that, we'll be navigated to the second stage where we can add the food items and all. Once we add the food items, then we can purchase those items. So this is how that BDD framework works. Like each stage is developed step by step in a iterative manner, which is almost like the agile process. So like a real-time scenarios, like I as a user should see that there's a login page where all the restaurants are displayed. Second stage, I should see that I'm able to add food items to the cart. And third, I should be able to check out. Okay. Now BDD framework also helps both the technical and as well as the non-technical people. How? It's like they follow a common language that is called Gherkin language. It's a domain specific language. Okay, we'll talk about it later in coming slides. So BAT is a testing framework which follows this process that is known as the BDD framework. Okay, and BAT is specifically used to test only PHP applications. Okay, it can't be used to test other application. It can be used, but it creates conflicts. We'll talk about it in later slides. Okay. So as I said, on the second part, it says that it allows us to test PHP applications using human readable sentences, that is Gherkin language. So it describes the expected behavior of the application from user perspective. So as a user, I should see a landing page where all the restaurants are displayed. So as a developer, I develop those pages, and as a tester, as a customer, I should see those pages are developed or those restaurants are displayed on the landing page. So this is a testing framework. So going deep down into BDD, as I mentioned, it helps the collaboration between developers, testers, stakeholders to ensure that the software meets those business requirements. It can be any requirements. I want to develop a e-commerce site, anything like the end-to-end scenarios. I want to purchase a product or any clothing brand from the site, and later I can check out. So these all business requirements are built, and it's a software development process, BDD. Okay. Uh, Gherkin language. So as I said, it's a domain specific language, which all the members of who follow BDD process use this. So here it says that it is used to format or describe feature scenarios that are easily understandable by non-technical and technical stakeholders. So as I said, it's so easy to understand. If you can see the example, like there's a scenario I wrote about failed login with invalid password. So any person can come and see that, okay, given I'm on the login page, when I enter my valid username and then I enter my invalid password, I click on the login button, then I should see a error message, but I should not be redirected to my profile page. So this is how it is structured, and this structured language is called as Gherkin language. So it uses keywords such as given, when, then, and but. So this Gherkin language is followed by all the members who use BDD process, like the stakeholders, technical developers, or QA. Okay, the developers can use these scenarios to build their stages, or can use this as a reference to build their product, and the testers can use these scenarios to test either manually or via automation. Okay, so here's one test example. So I'll be talking with respect to QA's point of view. So as I mentioned, I have a feature, a requirement like a user login, and this is how it is described. As a registered user, I want to be able to log into my account. So this is one business requirement here. Okay. Okay. Now in that business requirement, I picked up one scenario of incorrect login. Okay. So now as a tester, this module is tested, and now from manual point of view, I'll just go to that login page. When I enter that valid username, I enter invalid, then click on login button, I should see a error message. Okay, now as a manual point of view, if I take a SJ polling site, okay, and I try to enter any valid username and any password, so it should display this error message. So this is how it is done manually, and they basically, in manual point of view, there's a framework which we use that is called Cucumber Studio. It's a web-based platform that follows BDD framework. So if I can show one example, yeah, so this is the Cucumber Studio. Okay, it's a paid version, so I just removed a snapshot like how it is organized. So here in this folders, all the test cases are mentioned. So we consider these scenarios as test cases. Okay, and later these scenarios are added here. See one example. It's a just just one example which is added here about some other site. So this is how they are organized, and then as a manual QA we go and execute these test cases. So this is from manual point of view, and this is a framework known as Cucumber Studio which follow BDD process. Okay, so going ahead. Okay, so now in automation point of view, how the step definitions are generated, how we do the coding thing, and how we run those suits, I'll talk about it now. Okay, so these are known as step definitions. Now how this is generated, maybe I'll show you one quick reference. Okay. So you see, this is called as a feature file. So in automation part, there are three structures which we follow. Mostly one phase is the feature file phase, second is the framework structure, and third is the page class. In the feature file, we mention all the test cases like this. What are the requirements, like what needs to be tested. In the framework, all the coding part comes, like the main backbone you can say of the scripting, and on the page class we declare the selectors. About selectors I'll explain you later. So yes, you see I have defined all the feature scenarios here. Okay, and so once I declare them, okay, it's doing some error. Okay, so maybe I'll show it directly via the code. Okay, so once I declare these scenarios and once I run it via command prompt, then I get these step definitions. Okay, yes, this way. So these step definitions are generated. Okay, okay, I'll give her the same demo. Okay, so once the step definitions are generated, so now I see I am on the login page. So this is one function which is generated. Then when I enter the valid username, yes, this is the function generated here. Okay. Then I enter an invalid password, the function generated here. Click on login button. So these are all known as step definitions. Okay. And then I should see a error message. Yes. Okay. Now, once the step definitions are generated, we add our code here. So it's basically in PHP and it's integrated with WebDriver in case of this framework which you see. So this is the environment which I pass. How I pass this environment is, yes, this is the project environment. It fetches the environment which I pass here. Second, it sets the Chrome browser. Okay. This is how we set the Chrome browser. You can see. And this is the code to run that particular feature file where that scenario is added. So here I define the project environment. I store it in the URL variable, the environment which I want to navigate to. So it navigates to the URL. Then on the login page, it enters the username, and this is the value which is passed. So yes, this value will be passed, okay, as argument 1. Then I enter any invalid password. This is how I pass the values via password. This is the value which is passed. And then yeah, it just clicks on the login CTA. Okay. And then it validates the error message. So the error message is also here. So this is the error message, it will validate. So this is how we code it via automation point of view. Now the question here will be like how it goes and inspects each of the elements here, like the email, the password, and the login button. So here the term selector comes, a web element comes. So we, as a tester, we get those selectors from here. Like this is one way. Okay. So this is an ID. You get the ID just for your knowledge. So we get this ID, and later this is the pages where we declare the web element. So is the username, and we declare the selector here. So what this does, it tells the code, okay, to find a field which is an email field. Suppose this is an email field here. It tells the code to find a email field and make sure you type this input value. So how it is detected, it's based on this CSS selector. This is known as a CSS selector, and it is defined by ID. Okay, and it tells that you go and add this value. Same way it is does for password, same way it does for login button, and also for this, like the error message. Okay, so here all the selectors are declared, like the email, password, the login button here, and the message error, and the code here. It it sends the username here, it sends the password here. Here it clicks on the login CTA, and here it validates the error message. So I'll just run it once. Okay. So once I run it, it says that it passes. Yeah, see. So it's very fast, like it automation scripts are like this, only it takes within a blink of eye it executes the scripts. That's why we prefer automation over manual at times. Okay. So yes, it validated, like when I'm on the login page, when I enter the valid username, I enter invalid password, I click on login button, then I should see an error message. So this is a negative scenario which it validated, that expected test I am able to validate. So this is how we do on automation point of view. And later, once this is done, a report is generated. So which helps like to keep a track. So this is a report here. Yes. So this is it. Since it has passed, it is in green. So this is how it shows. This is the report which is generated. Okay, so this is like all about in automation point, and also manual. I said we use Cucumber Studio, or we just use those scenarios to execute. So this is how we use a BAT or BDD process in order to test scenarios or business requirements on any website. Okay. So yeah, let's go to the advantages of Behat. So as I mentioned, it is a easy to read language. So it uses one common language known as the Gherkin language, which uses those keywords such as given, when, then, and end. And it is easy to read, understand. Anyone can go, even a non-technical person can go read those scenarios and execute those scenarios as a tester, or is able to understand what are the business requirements. Okay. Now the best part of BEd and mostly the Drupal websites, they prefer BEd testing because there's one reason is that it allows easy configuration with Drupal extensions or Ming extensions. So most of the Drupal project, they prefer BEd testing because of that, because the configuration is easy and the setup also is very easy when it comes to Drupal projects. Okay. Third, code reusability. This, since we generate methods like, now for example, this is one method. Okay. So this method now can be used for all, like I have used for two functions here, for valid username, valid password. So for just for an example, this methods or any other code which is created like a common framework, login framework, a login testing framework, any checkout process can be used again and again, so that it reduces time and also reduces our effort as a tester to rewrite those scripts or code again. Okay. Regression. So regression testing. So manually, see, when I executed that automation script, it executed very fast. So this is how, when it comes, if a site is very stable or it needs regression testing, so BEd test can be used to reduce the time and effort of the tester, and it can actually check if any features are deployed. It can do a regression test on the older modules and make sure they are working fine, and with that it generates a report and tells us if the script is failing or not, or and later a tester can report those issues, so it saves time. Okay. Cost effective. BET is very effective because it's open source and free, and it can be used by any organization. And last is BET can be easily integrated with any CI/CD tools like Jenkins, Travis, Circle CI. Mostly Circle CI is preferred since its integration with BDD process. And yeah, we can set the runs automatically every week. Like suppose end of the week, I want to check, do a smoke testing on that particular website, then I can tell the CI/CD to do a code run like that. Coming to the drawbacks, these are the drawbacks which I also faced while working on a BEd project for CFR. Okay, so first main thing is it has limited test suite management. So when as we try to build any website, and as the website becomes complex, like with time it becomes very tough to manage or to organize those test cases or to manage or maintain those frameworks, because when it comes from tester's point of view, when it comes from as an automation QA, I have to go and track those files where the script is failing, because as the project becomes complex, it's very tough to track like where the code is failing or where the scripts are failing, or what is the reason or why it is happening. So it becomes tedious as the project becomes complex. Second thing, there are, be it is fast, but as compared to other frameworks in markets such as Cypress, Playwright, which is a trending one now, is comparatively slow. If we compare BET and other frameworks, the execution time is very slow. and mostly because of the large test suits or large complex setup that requires. So at times, if we compare it with other framework, then when it comes to efficiency and productivity, it provides it less. Like, okay, so third point, it states that limited test reporting. So that is the only way we can add a HTML. So I showed one report, like, yeah, so this is the only way we can generate reports for Behat, and it doesn't specify. Like, limited test reporting means it doesn't tell if a feature file fails, a screenshot. If a report provides a screenshot, then it would be better as a tester or anyone to know like where the script is failing. But in Behat, it is a very tedious job. There might be ways, but it is very tedious to generate a complex function or a code to make sure that a snapshot is taken. But if we compare it with other frameworks such as Selenium, or you take Cypress has inbuilt this, like a video recording or screenshot taker. Like, it takes a steps, like if any steps are failing, generates a screenshot and keeps a record like why that test is failing. So in Behat, we don't have that easy going or easy process of tracking like where the script or code is failing. Okay, so that's the reason I mentioned this point here. Limited compatibility with non-PHP application. This is the one of the major drawbacks. Okay, so suppose if I tried if I try using Behat with web application which are built with different languages like Python, Django, or Ruby on Rails. So when it comes for Behat setup, we require additional efforts and customization to bridge that gap between non-PHP application and Behat PHP based ecosystem, because Behat is mostly PHP based ecosystem. So then what happens? It involves like writing custom functions or adapters to make that Behat framework work with those non-PHP application, and it takes a lot of time. Okay, so that is the fourth point. Fifth point is almost related to the fourth point. As I said, it requires several dependencies to be installed and configured properly. So suppose I want to configure it with some mobile automation framework such as APM. At times, it depends on the site or the project requirement. We need a specific version of APM to be configured, and then while setting up, it becomes a very tedious process. So when it comes to dependency management, it also creates conflicts, because if a version is not matching, the Behat test don't run, or if anything is any updates are there in future also, like there's a browser update or any version updates are there, then Behat creates conflicts. Okay, so that's all about advantages, disadvantages. Yeah, demo step definitions.